This SoonerScoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Edward Ostovich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. It is a Monday. Welcome back to the Recruiting Report. Josh McCuistion in Studio HQ in Houston. Welcome back to the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. I think that we're getting our way into this OU Michigan week. Obviously, a big recruiting weekend coming up. Cooper Hackett news to get into as well. He commits to Texas Tech over the weekend. New offers going out inside the state of Oklahoma. One going out here on Monday morning that we'll get into plenty with plenty of highlights and even talk to Xavier Oku Fulueze.
You got it. That was great.
That's going to give me trouble, but I think it'd be good trouble to have because it certainly looks like he's a really good player. Josh, you were out. You saw Trey Moore as well as Noah Best and Jalen Brewster. Very, very loaded recruiting report, and obviously it all kind of culminates here at the weekend with the big, massive recruiting visitor list coming in for the OU Michigan game. Before we get into all of that, though, let us tell you about our good friends over at Cody Drug. Cody Drug, we've been telling you about him over on the Unofficial 40, I think, for the last 6 months or so. 6 months, yeah, absolutely. Trying to get us skinny. That's what they're doing here. All you got to do is go to CodyDrugRx.com. Josh, I know that you've done this. How's it working for you?
Really well. And again, the staff is really easy to deal with. Like, we've had some questions on various things. Both Tiffany and I are on some medication. So it's worked really well. And like I said, I don't think it could be an easier process. It's been, the whole staff over there has really answered every question we've had.
We'll start investigating if both of you go missing over the next, week and a half. Just go to CodyDrugRx.com. Feel better, faster without the stadium steps. Cody Drug uses custom compounds, everything in their state-of-the-art sterile lab, including specialized medications for men's health, weight loss, anti-aging, George, and more. And they love working with Oklahoma med spas and clinics. So if you're in healthcare, they're ready to team up as well. CodyDrugRx.com. Thank you to our good friend, Mr. Will Douglas, who I'm sure will be headed, I'm not even sure, I know will be headed up I-35 on Friday to come to Norman for the big game. All right, let's get into a little bit of recruiting report. Let's start here. Saturday night, Oklahoma, they miss out. They lose on Cooper Hackett. He commits to Texas Tech. I guess they lose for now. Maybe that's a better way to put it when we're talking about the 2027 offensive lineman out of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, Josh. Just in terms of what happened here, Cooper Hackett does commit to Texas Tech. Just kind of surprise, overall read on the situation. Certainly doesn't seem like he's closing things down. Still expected in Norman this weekend.
Yeah, there's no question that I was surprised. I mean, I had talked to Cooper about this over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he was open. I'm not ready to make a decision. I want to take my time. There were some things. I feel like I've hinted at some of it. There's some stuff going on behind the scenes that it's not Cooper's fault. It's nothing to do. This isn't like a bad guy thing. I think he made a decision because he thought he needed to. And like you said, he'll be back in Norman this weekend. I don't think this is a case of, well, I've made my decision and this is all over. That's not what's happening here. I think Oklahoma is still very much in his ear. I think they've got a lot of reason to feel good about this recruitment. I know that's crazy to say, but that's recruiting. And it's always kind of been recruiting, but now with NIL, it's even a bigger part of the equation. The races are kind of never run until a guy, you can't even say signs anymore. It's until he stepped foot on a field, it's always kind of up in the air. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think the fact that the immediate messaging was he's still going to be in Norman on Saturday was I think that was kind of telling of maybe where Cooper's heart is, I guess would be the easiest way to say that.
Josh, from OU's perspective, any cause for concern on their end, or do you think it's kind of one of those things like you said where, they know that there's still a lot of recruitment left to be had here?
Everybody I talked to kind of yesterday, it was so late on Saturday and, obviously OU celebrating a win and that kind of stuff, kind of let it sleep for a little while. And then I talked to people Sunday and it was very level-headed. I didn't get any big responses or, because I know some fans like, well, this is over, or we're done with this kid or whatever. There's none of that. Like it's very, and I think part of it is Cooper's been very clear about what's happening, what his thought process is. And I know it frustrates people that, I can't sit here and share all of that's going on, but it's, again, like I think he's trying to do the right things. And he is, he's a young kid navigating a very complicated situation. So I think everybody needs to be patient with it. But again, my impression is that Oklahoma is more than understanding of kind of what's happening here. And I think they are, until something were to change dramatically, I think they're kind of in it for the long haul.
Do you think it'd be different, too, if he was a 2026 guy as opposed to being in the 27 class, where he's still relatively young in his junior season, let alone getting into the senior stuff?
Well, absolutely. And you also have to remember, like, this isn't a kid from Duncanville or a kid from, a major city. Like, he's from Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. A year ago, nobody knew who he was. And now he's in this situation where everybody's paying attention to what he's doing. He's a top 20 player in his class. Like, there's a lot of attention he's never dealt with before. And, so I think there's a lot he's learning as he goes. And, not just him, his family, everybody around him. Like, there's a lot of input that he's never gotten before. And so I think there's a lot to process there. But, again, I think I really do. I know from the outside it looks like, he went and chased a bag or whatever. Like, just relax. Like, give it a little time. I think Oklahoma is more than willing to fight this fight. And as I've said all along, I don't think Oklahoma has to go dollar for dollar with Texas Tech. I don't believe that. Do I think they've got to be competitive? Absolutely. Do I think they're willing to be? Yes. So just OU fans, like, I know the immediate response was kind of knee-jerk and anger and that kind of stuff. Just take a breath. Like, it's early. There's time to fix this.
Hate to say it, just trust the process, but it certainly seems like you just got to trust the process here. And certainly get them on campus for a big weekend like they have coming up. You never know how things go if Oklahoma's able to win a football game and all of a sudden you get caught up in the the momentum of the weekend for a second.
I mean, maybe Fasusi plays some at left tackle. I mean, wouldn't be a bad thing.
It all kind of goes together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go in-state 2026. Our guy Harry went up to Tulsa over the weekend. We had kind of talked about this, I believe, last week on the recruiting report. Over the last couple of weeks, it felt like there was maybe something growing for Xavier Oku Fulueze. I'm going to do my best to get that right by the time that he gets done with his senior season. How about that oath? Rejoice Christion, though. He had an unbelievable night in front of Harry. He gets offered on Monday. I want to show the highlights, though, first. 10 receptions, 228 yards, had 3 touchdowns. Josh, when you're talking about a 6'5", 195 athlete, my God, this kid looks good.
Yeah. I mean, you just watch the movement skills, guys. Like, I mean, and the thing that I notice, Eddie, and, like, we can get into everything, look at his wingspan. Like, I mean, that is a guy, I remember a coach, it's always one of my favorite things, talk about scratching your knees without bending over. Like, that's what he looks like. I mean, he is so long. And then, here you watch him playing some DB, and just to have the movement skills and that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot to like. What I'm noticing from even when I saw him in May, he is starting to fill out his frame. Like, I bet he's put on 10 pounds since I saw him last. And so that was one of my bigger questions. Like, is he going to get big enough where he can handle the physicality? And I don't think that's going to be a problem. That's a P4 looking body type if I've ever seen one.
Josh, why was this guy so under the radar? Because I
asked the same question.
I'm watching this guy, and it's like, man, what were people missing on him? And he gets the OU offer now. I wonder if other schools come in and offer him. But, like, where did people miss on this guy?
I think a lot of it, like I said, part of it is just where he is. Rejoice Christion is a school that, outside of Tulsa, I would guess most people have never heard of. Like, they just don't know anything about it. So it's not a stop you're going to make every time. Because even if you're in Owasso, that's not the first school you're going to go to. So, I think there's some of that element to it. And I also think this isn't a guy that, came up playing football, and everybody knew about him when he was in 7th or 8th grade. So when coaches would come through, it was, oh, hey, take a look at this guy. Check this kid out. Because, guys, I think I told this story in the spring, but when I was making the rounds in Oklahoma and I went to see him at camp, I mean, yeah, I love this. Look at that. That's that wingspan I'm talking about. Look at him just go get that. Like, that's guys, I mean, what, 5% of receivers maybe in college football can grab that ball at that length. I mean, that's just that's where that wingspan can get you. You can get it just about anywhere near him, and he can make a play. But to answer the question, when I was up there in Tulsa, I went by, and then I stopped by a big 6A program later on in that afternoon, and they were like, oh, they've got some guys? Like, even amongst high schools in Tulsa, who we know for various reasons keep very good track of where the talent is in the state of Tulsa or in the city of Tulsa, they didn't know much about these guys. So I think it's just a place where the word of mouth hadn't really gotten out a lot. They just weren't well known. But that's not going to last, because between him and Cameon Compton-Nero, there is very real talent at Victory Christian. Wow, I did it at Rejoice Christion.
If we could rewind it to that one that he had in the end zone, he got robbed on that. He caught that ball, and they said he was out of bounds. Did they call it incomplete? Yeah, you watch the ref in the back. He waves it up, says he was out of bounds. He was pretty clearly in bounds there. He should have had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think he got called back for a hold in the game. 10 receptions, though, 228 yards. He did get offered by Oklahoma. Let's go to our guy Harry caught up with him. This is on Friday night, so nothing had already happened yet. Yeah, that looks like he got a foot down.
Look at the foot here. Hold on. Hold on. He's got it right there in the back.
Oh, that tap. Yeah, he got a tap right there.
Yeah, he's in.
I will say, I think from some of the video that
also,
we
who's
had
the school they're playing?
That was Tulsa Noah.
Okay.
That's Danny Okoye's school. So
don't go upset
watch
Danny
what
Okoye.
You're saying.
Okay.
Watch what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So we will get to Xavier. He talked about the Oklahoma offer. He talked about his relationship with Emmett. And this certainly seems like this could be headed in a positive direction for Oklahoma.
Been pretty good. I mean, he reached out about 3 weeks before school started. He always checks up on me periodically, but 3 weeks before school, he just was talking to me, talking about just complimenting my game, saying it's gonna take off when I get to college, all that, just complimenting me. And then he reached out to me, I think last Sunday or Monday, telling me about this game day. I'm gonna go to tomorrow. So yeah, he invited me.
If you were to offer, what would that mean to you?
It mean a lot, because going into this whole recruiting process, that was probably my dream school. I'd say OU and OSU, and I got one of them. So yeah, it would mean a lot. That's definitely my dream school for sure.
Do you have like a timeline at all, or like a plan of a certain month or something that you're planning on making a decision?
September.
Okay.
I mean, are we in September yet? No, not yet.
No.
So yeah, before September ends, I should be committed somewhere.
Okay.
Wherever that is, yeah.
We are now in September, so it certainly seems like this could accelerate, Josh. I don't know if his plan is to get back down to Norman for the OU-Michigan game this weekend, but certainly somebody that, I think when you look at Oklahoma's high school recruiting in the state of Oklahoma, 2026, I know that we've talked about it quite a bit. They have been pretty absent. This guy seems like could be somebody that could be in this class here, maybe by the close of September.
Yeah, Eddie, I had done that. Again, we've talked about it a little bit, but I had done that research where Oklahoma had not signed an Oklahoma player since at least the 70s. That was about as far back as I could go and find real information. So it was going to be a pretty considerable streak. I don't think that streak's going to be at risk. I really like where they are. I've talked to that they all call him ZZ. So I've talked to him several times about this, and it sounds – I think OU's got a lot of reason to feel good. I don't think anything Harry heard there is off base from conversations I've had with people as well. Now, I will say, Harry did do me a favor. We're going to help all the people out a little bit at home. Okwufulueze is what he sent me phonetically.
Okwufulueze.
So, yeah, he sent me a text, and I was trying to track it down as you were going through it there, Eddie. But I really wanted you to take a stab at it before I gave you a cheat code.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Okwufulueze. Xavier Oku Fui. I'm never going to forget that.
Nice.
Awesome. We got it now. I would imagine here over the course of the football season, we're going to be headed back up there because they have Cameon Compton-Nero as well, 2028. We'll get to him here in a little bit because I do want to see what you've been up to, Josh. I know that you were busy over Thursday and Friday night down in the state of Texas. Had a really good game on Friday night, and that's where we're going to start. Noah Best, Midlothian, obviously Oklahoma, 2026 offensive line recruit or commitment versus Cedar Hill, Jalen Brewster, who has burst onto the scene, one of the better defensive tackles there in the 27 class. And let's start with Noah Best. What did you think of seeing Oklahoma offensive lineman commit Noah Best in action on Friday night?
Guys, this is a Bill Bedenbow guy. Like, this is a nasty, like, wants to play you in a phone booth. He's not the longest guy I've ever seen. He's not a guy that you're like, oh man, just put him out in space. But you just get this guy locked on a defender, and he is going to drive and just bury that guy at any chance he's given. Now, on the tape, you'll notice he plays right tackle. Well, I think they do him as a swing tackle a little bit, but primarily you'll see him lined up on the right side. So he is, every bit of probably 6'4", 6'5", and about 310, 315 pounds. So he's a really well put together guy. But here, like, look at the way. Even though, like I say, he's not the most overwhelming athlete I've watched, but like look at him come out of his stance, keep his knees down, keeps his weight underneath himself, and like the balance he's got there is just really, really good, and it's why he can get to that second level and put his hands on a linebacker. And again, it'll surprise no one. Midlothian ran behind him all night and had a lot of success, especially in the first half. He was really just moving people wherever he wanted to. So again, I came away really impressed, and we can talk a little bit about him and Jaylen Brewster and the few times they kind of hooked up. But it was a really solid performance, and I thought he had really taken strides from when I saw him late last year already.
Josh, how did he do against Jalen Brewster? I don't know if we've gotten to that part in the tape, but how did he handle him?
I would say they only ran into each other a few times. And I did talk to Noah about it. I said, this is it right here. Jalen's 0 right there in black. Okay. And this was basically how each time they connected went, because it was basically a down block and Jaylen Brewster's having to fight through that. And Jalen's never going to have the advantage is all Noah's there. And that's not to say that Noah didn't do a good job. He absolutely did. But it wasn't really a score, a fair fight, I guess you'd say, because Noah's got to seal him for just a split second, and then the plays past Jalen, and he's got no chance to make an impact. That's pretty much what it was. But from someone who thinks Jaylen Brewster is one of the best defensive tackles I've seen in the last 5 years, to watch Noah be able to physically handle him, didn't look out of place, I take that as all positive. Like I feel this is a guy that Oklahoma prioritized early, and the more you watch him, you understand why. Like, he is a good fit for Oklahoma, for Bill Bedenbow. There's a lot that is just going to make sense.
Well, you mentioned it. Let's flip over to the other side. On the other side was Cedar Hill and Jalen Brewster, one of the top defensive tackles in the country, and it certainly sounds like he lived up to the billing. Best that you've seen over the last 5 years? Is that what you said?
He's absolutely in that. Like, this is... Eddie, I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a defensive tackle in the state of Texas I like as much as Jalen Brewster.
Wow.
He's big. I mean, he's every bit – you guys saw him this summer. He's 6'3", 295, 300 pounds. But look at the way he moves. Like, it's just – like, even when he's not making plays, you know how much Midlothian's thinking about him. And Midlothian's a good team, guys. They went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs last year. He's just like and you talk about, like, he's a big bear. Like, he's so quick and he's so athletic that you kind of forget you're watching a guy that is 300 plus pounds and moves like he does. I mean, like, look at his lower half. Like, those little skinny ankles, he changes direction so easy. Look, this is my favorite play of the night. He beats the block inside and literally chases down the running back wide of the tackle. Guys, that's not normal. People don't do that. But the thing that separates him from me, and I know, like, I'm sorry, I know I'm probably going to step all over George's next question, and I apologize. The thing that sticks out to me when I watch Jalen Brewster, his motor. I watch guys this big and talented, not all the time, but when I see them, they don't usually play with his level of energy every single snap. I never saw a play all night where it looked like Jalen had checked out. Like he wasn't doing his level best. Like he's going to chase plays 20 yards downfield. He plays hard from whistle to whistle, and you just don't see that from big defensive tackles with huge offer lists. Usually they know it, and they're like, well, I'll let the DBs clean that up. He chases everything.
Josh, you mentioned it, huge offer list. What is the latest with him and his recruitment right now?
Jalen, so Cedar Hill won this game, and for those that don't know, I usually won't interview a player unless they win. I just hate to put guys in that spot and have that conversation with a high school kid. So I had planned to talk to him. Jalen had a head injury late in the game.
Yeah, you'll see it at the clip.
Basically left the field. Yeah, and so it might right here. And so he went out here. I did not get a chance to talk to him because of that. And I've talked to Jalen since. He's fine. Like it's all good. He's okay. But it was everything I've heard is Oklahoma and Oregon have kind of separated themselves. Now, it depends on who you talk to. Some people will tell you it's Oregon. Obviously they do a great job with recruiting. We know they've got a lot of NIL. At the same time, he's been up to OU a ton. He's got a great relationship with Todd Bates. So it's kind of what matters to you, like what is he going to factor in on it. Again, I don't want that to sound like Oregon's not doing a great job. They absolutely are. They're very, very good. And, we know they went into Dallas and took DeCorian Moore just last year. So they are very capable of winning this battle. But I think Oklahoma is in his top two. And I think I don't have any reason to think they won't stay so long as what we keep talking about is this season goes well and they show, okay, they're trending in the right direction. I think Oklahoma is a very, very real contender for Jaylen Brewster.
Noticed DeCorian Moore got into the game for Oregon as a true freshman. I think he started as a true freshman on Saturday against Montana State. All right, that sounds amazing with Jaylen Brewster. What were you laughing about? What's so funny?
Well, what I was going to laugh, and you were absolutely right, but what I was going to laugh about is they asked Dan Lanning, I don't know if you guys saw this, about DeCorian Moore. He made a block as a receiver was running into the end zone. And Dan Lanning was like, well, he blocked the wrong guy, but I love the energy. So it was just kind of one of those things you're like, the freshman can't even win.
I'm sure that
it was just a funny quote.
I'm sure Dan Lanning loved that, though, secretly inside, that he was just ready to hit somebody.
Oh, he pancaked the kid. I mean, he really got into him. It was impressive.
That's funny. All right, let's move on. You were at another game on Thursday night. Trey Moore, Pflugerville Weiss High School. A couple guys to get into there. Let's start with Trey Moore, though. Oklahoma obviously has been very active in their pursuit of Trey Moore here recently. The son of Eric Moore, the former Oklahoma quarterback that played in the late 90s. Very, very impressive looking athlete, Josh, if we want to get to the highlights.
Yeah. There's not a, I walked out there, and you guys know I say this all the time. If I'm talking about an OU guy, I don't want to have to guess who I'm looking at. I didn't have to guess who Trey Moore was. You walked out there and you're like, that's him. Like you just knew before he had a jersey on, before you could pick, you're like, that's got to be the guy. And he is super impressive, really physical. And what kind of like what I was talking about with Jalen, I like all the physical tools, and we can talk about that stuff. It was the way he didn't get a lot of looks in the first half. And in not one time did I watch him drop his head or have an attitude about it. Like they were struggling. They were down 21-7 and kind of on the ropes in the first half, to the point I think I put in the game thread that like if they didn't go score here, I thought McNeil would go up 28-7 and the game might be over. But they ended up coming all the way back and outscored them 42-7 the rest of the way or something like that. And a lot of it was him. But like this right here, he doesn't lose his cool. He, takes the late hit. Kid, got penalized, and he was just super in control all night. And it just really impressed me, his whole demeanor.
You'd have to remind me, but a lot bigger than Eric was when he was in college, correct?
I want to say, and Kerry probably could answer that better than I could. I mean, I have a memory of like Eric at like 6'1", 205 kind of thing. Like, what I remember, Trey is clearly bigger than Eric Moore. But again, like you look at the lower half, he's well put together. Like he's just a big physical dude, and he's every bit of 6'3".
Okay.
And he made several really tough contested catches. Again, we know that clearly, you know, whether it's Emmett Jones, whether it's the front office staff, however you want to term it, they have a type that we're clearly seeing at receiver. And, man, he fits it to a T. He is a big physical dude.
Josh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you got to talk to him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does he stand in his recruitment, and how does he feel about it?
I have a surprise for you.
Okay, we're going to play it?
We can hear from Trey Moore.
Let's do it.
We can hear from Trey Moore. Here is Trey Moore talking about his relationship with Emmett Jones, as well as being a legacy at Oklahoma if there's any pressure to end up in Norman.
I know them pretty close. You know, I've been up there a few times. You know, Coach Emmett, he's like a second father to me. You know, he's always mentoring me, texting me. You know, he texted me before this game. You know, just wishing me luck. You know, telling me to lock in, telling me I'm the best. And you know, we have a little group chat. They text it literally every single day with my parents. You know, but yeah, it's like love. It's family over there.
That's something I think that maybe people don't recognize a lot with OU. They do a lot of that stuff where it's not just you. You know, they're recruiting mom, dad. Like they really do a lot of that. Is that unique, or is that something a lot of schools do?
I want to say every school does that, but I feel like some schools do that, but with OU it's special.
Okay. With your dad, I mean, is there a push, or is he pretty good about letting you kind of do it any way you want?
I don't think he doesn't want me to, you know, just go to OU just because he wants me to go there because it's the right spot for me.
Okay.
So wherever I go, I think he's gonna 100% go with me or be with me.
Trey Moore talking about his relationship with Oklahoma. I don't want to say if you had to call it, because he's obviously probably, you know, further away from his commitment date or whenever that may come. Does it seem like Oklahoma's in pretty good shape, though, for Trey Moore?
Yeah, and, you know, Trey, that was our first time to really, you know, kind of be around each other and talk. So there wasn't like a lot of, you know, after the interview we kind of talked about this or that. But I definitely got the feeling that it's kind of one of those things where somebody's going to have to prove to me that Oklahoma's not the place. Like that's kind of the vibe I got. Now, again, we know, you know, NIL is going to have to be competitive and all that stuff. Like that all is still there. But it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with Cooper Hackett. Like, he's going to give OU some benefit of the doubt. Like, he's going to give them every opportunity to win him over. And it sounds like they're doing that. I mean, his connection with Emmett Jones, a couple of times, like even before we started recording, he had kind of mentioned, you know, that. Like, just – and I always talk about this. Like, what do they tell you when you're not asking something? Like in that quote we just played there, Eddie, I asked him, you know, is that unique to Oklahoma? And he's like, no, but it's special at Oklahoma.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, he's telling you something there without actually saying it.
Of all places, ended up in Pflugerville, America. Texas, SMU, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Miami, all kind of in contention. Would that be
good group,
kind of that main group that you're looking at, or is there any other schools out there that might get in on Trey Moore here?
Oh, you know, I didn't. I would say that's a pretty good synopsis. I kind of asked him, like, you know, what are you doing? What do you got coming up? And he's like, man, it's right after the game. I can't really remember. Yeah. So I don't think he's got a very clear picture of what he's looking at right now. I get the impression, you know, obviously nearby to Texas. And I did ask him. I was like, how does an OU, you know, legacy, and how does your dad end up in Pflugerville? And his parents, I'm going to blank on the story. They met somewhere, and I think it was just like it kind of the way they met led them to Pflugerville. It was like, it was kind of a series of events. I'm going to mess it up, so I'm not going to make Trey look bad.
Had something to do with the church.
But absolutely, there is no question that I guess the reasoning, or I'm sorry, with Oklahoma, I think they are the top school, but I think Miami's going to be there. I think Texas is going to be there. He'll take some visits. I didn't get the impression like this is a kid that's going to go run and make an early decision or anything like that.
I think we just saw Josh's brain like recalibrate right in front of us.
I did. I was like, where am I? I lost all track of where I was going.
It doesn't seem like the skill talent is just Trey Moore there at Pflugerville Weiss High School in Austin. Jordan Anderson, 2028. You might have seen him in some of the clips. Number 5 on the screen. Certainly looks the part. 6 foot 180. Is this a slot receiver? Is that where we're maybe, as opposed to being more of an outside guy like Trey? Here is Jordan Anderson's highlights, though, from Thursday night as well.
Yeah, he's a little bit more of an inside guy, I would say, but like kind of in the vein of a Elijah Thomas kind of body type. Like, I mean, he's bigger than you think he is. He's just not nearly as big as Trey. But I like the kid a lot. I want to say he's got about half a dozen offers right now. So he's definitely a guy that you kind of are going to have to keep track of, because I do think eventually he's probably an Oklahoma offer guy. What is interesting is this is a school at Weiss that, again, you look at Trey Moore, like I said, Jordan Anderson's got multiple offers, starting to gain a reputation as kind of a wide receiver program. They had the kid, and I was just trying to pull up his name, and I'm forgetting. I can't seem to find him, but was the kid that initially committed to Oklahoma or was about to commit to Oklahoma. They tell him that he can't take any more visits, and he ends up committing to Oregon a few days later, and then he went through like 4 different changes, and I'm just blanking on his name. There's people watching this right now screaming his name at me, but Weiss, again, is starting to kind of develop a rep is that they're good at the receiver position. They seem to something about the area is putting wide receivers in their roster that can really play.
Should be rather interesting to keep tabs on Pflugerville, Weiss High School. That close to Hendrickson where Samaje went?
Oh, yeah.
Same town, right?
You're talking about, one of my favorite things for, and just kind of inside baseball here, the stadium that is Pflugerville's kind of primary stadium for I believe it's 4 high schools. It's the field is all they call it, but it's PFIELD, so that's kind of just like a fun thing they do in Pflugerville. I guess I don't know why that the PF has to work for everything, but they seem to put it on anything they can.
The name that you're thinking of, Adrian Wilson, the wide receiver from Pflugerville, Weiss High School. All right, let's close this out for a recruiting report. I guess just in terms of the stuff that you saw, we'll get into a little bit of the visitor list coming up this weekend, Josh. We'll go back up to Tulsa. A teammate of Xavier Okwufulueze. Okwufulueze?
That was pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah.
We're still getting the hang of it. Cameon Compton-Nero, a 2028 athlete. Looks like he does just a little bit of everything up there for Rejoice Christion, and certainly going to be on the passing end of what Xavier will be catching playing quarterback up there.
Oh, yeah. And this guy, we talked about Xavier stats where it was like 10 for 230. Cameon was the other end of all that yardage. And I want to say he threw for 5 touchdowns and had like 400 yards of total offense. He is a incredible athlete. And while we don't know yet if Xavier will be in Norman, like you said, Eddie, Camion's coming down. And what's interesting about Cameon, he was coming down with his parents before OU invited him. He had planned to be at the game kind of on his own, and OU heard about it and decided, hey, we want you there with us. So he's been invited to the game. He's going to go as a recruit. I would guess that if Xavier wanted to ride down there, I'm going to guess they'd probably have a spot for him somewhere in the car. So I'm going to guess Xavier will be there. But this is again, it's a DB target for Oklahoma. He came to camp, and he is ultra athletic, very long. I remember watching him, his freshman tape last year. You're like, holy cow, this kid's just going to be unbelievable. But you look at the frame. I mean, this is a kid days into his sophomore year of high school. He's going to just get bigger and stronger, and kind of, I'm trying to think of who he kind of reminds me of. There's some Aaron Colvin in there a little bit to me. I think he's maybe a little more athletic, a little more explosive than Aaron was, but that same kind of length and movement skill.
He seems to be a pretty raw player still, Josh. He seems like a great athlete, but you feel like he probably still has a ways to go in terms of his development.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a guy, and now obviously, Rejoice, he didn't play quarterback for him last year. This is I think he did in some, kind of wildcat scenarios and that kind of stuff. So I'm guessing they'll probably, throttle his snaps at DB a little bit, just trying to make sure he's healthy and fresh for the offensive side of the ball. But, as they get into playoffs and they're trying to win another state title, they'll obviously ramp him up and do whatever they need to do to kind of get that gold ball. But he's got a lot to learn. But, again, he is the thing I noticed at camp and talking to some people after camp Like he's a kid that'll ask questions. He definitely is very interested in learning all he can learn. I think he is aware of what he doesn't know, and that's always a good start. So I think he is a guy that absolutely is going to continue to pick up offers. And what I thought was interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much into this from an OU perspective, when he tweeted out that he was going to be at the game, he tweeted out something like, "Can't wait to be at the Palace." Guys, that's something OU fans say. That's not something like a kid from Oklahoma says when he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Oklahoma this weekend," or whatever. Like, and again, him talking about being at that game even without OU's free ticket and invite. Like, I get the vibe that Cameon, much like Xavier, probably has some affinity for OU. So I think it could be a start of maybe something good at Rejoice for Oklahoma.
Real quick on Cameon Compton-Nero, when you talk defensive back, is that safety, or are we looking at cornerback, or is it just a wide-ranging, you're going to play in the secondary, we'll find a spot for you?
I came into camp thinking corner, but he worked a lot with Brandon Hall at safety. So I kind of think that may be the thinking, but I definitely don't think it's like written in stone. I think there is some flexibility of, let's kind of see where this plays out. Maybe kind of in the same way that Malik Hawkins was recruited, and kind of a, we think corner, but maybe safety. I think they were kind of open-ended about that, and that's kind of my guess at this point with Cameon. Maybe in 2 years it's a little more clear.
How big is he?
He's listed at 6'3". I don't know if I would say he was 6'3" just based off the tape that we have. His body style looks like somebody that could really kind of grow into it.
I think he could play cheetah. I mean, if he's really 6'3",
interesting thought, yeah.
If he's 6'3" and he looks like he could put on quite a bit of weight, like you wonder, and his athleticism, the ability to play that position. I think he's probably a safety, but it wouldn't shock me at all if this is a kid that they say, "Hey, you could play cheetah too."
Sure, not a bad idea.
I would say he's probably closer to 6'1". The 6'3" is a little inflated to me, even beyond kind of the normal. But I mean, he's all of 6'1". He's super long. I don't know that it's impossible. We kind of have to see what his frame would do. Yeah. And again, I think when people hear cheetah, they immediately are like, well, is he, one of these super long guys? Guys, we know through the years in that role, whether it was called cheetah or, the Roy back or whatever, they've used a lot of different body types there. I mean, like I can remember in early 2000s, Brandon Shelby, who's basically a slot corner, was playing, that kind of position. So there's a lot of variation in that, but I mean, he's a physical kid, so I don't think it's an absolute no-go. But again, that's one of the things you got to imagine OU likes about him is that versatility. He can do some different stuff.
Very good. Good to have high school football back in our lives here. That was a very busy weekend for the first,
Shout out
the
Harry
first
too.
weekend. Yeah, Harry, that was great stuff up at Rejoice Christion up in Tulsa. All right, big weekend coming up on the recruiting side of things. Obviously, the visitor list is gargantuan. Josh, just I know it's going to be kind of a work in progress in terms of who's in, who's out. It seems like, though, the group that we know so far, it's kind of a who's who list. Obviously, one of the bigger games of the weekend in college football, prime time, big stage for Oklahoma to be able to host a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Cooper, and obviously we've kind of gone on at length at him. You've got Zyron Forstall, who is kind of a probable. I don't know that it's definite he'll be there. Big defensive end from IMG Academy. Jake Krull is his teammate. So you've got to think that's something Jake will be kind of whispering in his ear all weekend if he's there in Norman. And then you've got guys, all the way down to the 2028 class. That's what I think we're seeing. Like it used to be, the visit weekends like this were about the seniors. Like who'd you get on campus? Almost every senior that will be in Norman is going to be a committed guy, maybe with the exception of Xavier. So there is, and again, if Xavier comes, so that's a whole other conversation. But a lot of this is going to be about 2027, 2028, and you've got guys like Gage Waddell coming in from San Diego, Eric's kid that played for the Chargers forever. I guess the Chargers and the Ravens. Kellen Hall, the guy we saw this summer that just over the moon about him as a player. Is a 2028 guy. Those guys are both the 2028 class. They have not been. Nobody has been given a 5-star in that class. But if you looked at it and where they're currently ranked, if they were to hold that position, those are 5-star positions. The top 32 are 5 stars in each class. So, again, like you just go down the list, and guys, I haven't even gone through to confirm with all the national guys. I've checked with a lot of the local guys, a lot of the guys around the area that I would expect, but there are going to be at least a dozen guys that I either don't know to check with or don't hear back from that are going to be on campus. This is going to be a really big weekend, and frankly, in the story that's on the front page right now, I compared it to a weekend like 12 years ago, guys. Like that's the last time I can remember this many really high-end 5-star guys, and that included like Dorial Green Beckham, Nelson Aguilar, Mario Edwards, a bunch of NFL eventual players. So it was a really good weekend. I think Oklahoma will hope this weekend has a few more OU players on the visit list, but it's a huge list, and I think it's impressive that Oklahoma is showing the ability to maximize what this weekend can be.
It'll be kind of interesting to see just how everything is unfolded with the new front office staff, the high school recruiting department. Just kind of it's their first major host weekend, if you will.
Yeah, and what you're telling me is that Brent's press conference is going to be like 3 hours after the game.
Will be. It's actually been rescheduled. It'll be at 8 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah,
so he can spend some time with everybody.
Josh, I know you said it's a lot of 27 kids in 28, but I'm looking at your story here, and there's quite a few commits coming in for the 26 class, and also Kevin Ford, KJ Ford, the edge from Duncanville. I know he's committed to Florida, but what's the interest level there? Is there any chance that they could flip him? Is this like one of those things that it probably will play out, throughout the season? Like, what's the update there, I guess?
I don't get the impression that he's going to come in and do anything immediately. Yeah. Oh, there's my doorbell with the dogs in the background. But I think wow,
we can't hear
right
him.
On cue.
We can't hear him.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, wonderful, beautiful. So the thing I would say is, I think it's a lot like we've talked about with him all along. There's going to have to be some patience. I also wonder, is he a guy, and I think he is, but I don't know this. Is he a guy that Oklahoma takes no matter what? Like, they are willing to go four defensive ends in this class? Maybe they are. And I certainly wouldn't blame him. He's a big-time guy from a big-time program. Makes all the sense in the world. I just kind of wonder, like, what does that do? Or is it like, okay, if maybe we miss out on this one offensive tackle or we miss out on this guy at wide receiver, we're going to have an extra space. That I just don't know. But I definitely do think he's a guy they want. I don't really think that's going to be a question. It's just something I can't exactly answer. But I do. I think KJ Ford is a guy that as the season goes on and kind of watching what Florida does, watching what Oklahoma does, Oklahoma has a chance here. Because I know, our guys in our Florida site, Corey Bender, Blake Alderman, who do great jobs, they've talked about Florida needs to get him back on campus. They know OU's chasing him still. They know several schools are still chasing him. So I think this is pretty interesting because it just seems like Oklahoma and KJ Ford have kind of circled each other for a long time, and they've never actually kind of, I guess, taken that relationship to the next level. So we'll see what happens. But I do think they've got a chance if things play out well, and I think they need to show him something this weekend.
And Josh, let me ask you this, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here. Is there any one guy that you're kind of keeping an eye on that maybe they could pop after this weekend? Let's say OU goes and has a good performance, or is there really no one of this group that could maybe commit after this visit?
I will pick two guys in 2027, and I will start with a name that everybody's going to know, Peyton Houston. I don't think anything will happen this weekend, but I know how much he thinks of Kuzieski. I know how much he thinks of Ben Arbuckle. Like, they are – like, I think that's the best relationship he has in recruiting. Like, I think he's been fairly open about that, honestly. So if Oklahoma could go beat Michigan, really show some upward trajectory, especially offensively. Like, okay, these guys are figuring it out. They're getting back on track. I think Oklahoma is absolutely a possibility. I know a lot of people have picked USC for him. Let's see. Now, I will say also, I guess I should mention, I'll be seeing Peyton Houston on Thursday. So that's part of my travel plans this week. I'm going to get the chance to see him. Maybe I'll feel differently come Thursday. Hang around the site and find out. But I do think Oklahoma is a absolute contender there. And I think maybe more than some people think.
Very good. Plenty of interest. Was there one other name too? Alongside
I'm
Peyton
sorry.
Houston?
There was. Caden Penny, the offensive lineman from Bixby. I don't think he's ready to make a choice, but I think Oklahoma has impressed him. He made a couple of trips down to Norman this summer. I know of one. I'm thinking maybe there was a second one, and I'm blanking just a little bit. But I know he made one kind of trip that was kind of off the radar a little bit this summer. So I wouldn't rule that out. I think he's a little closer to a choice than maybe some people think. But I'm not expecting any windfall of commitments or anything like that, especially because, like I said, so many of these guys are so young. They're just not going to rush this at this point.
All right, very good. Plenty to watch on the field and off the field coming up this weekend in Norman. We will have another video, the Game Day Rewind, going into everything from Oklahoma season opening, 35-3 win over Illinois State, leading into this week on against Michigan, right here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. So for Josh and George, I'm Eddie. We'll see you back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel.